So I only literally sleep for 2 hours each night. So you save up, if I reduce the amount of time I spend in bed, that is going to help me sleep. But if I literally only sleep for 2 hours a night, if I were to reduce my time in bed to, let's say, 6.5, 7 hours, that's not going to do anything, surely. And I think this is a real common thing for people with insomnia to experience, to say, I can't be helped because I literally don't sleep at all, or it feels like I'm getting 1 or 2 hours a night. And I can guarantee, I know you probably think that that is true, but that's incredibly unlikely to be true. And I know that for a fact. This is 20 years I felt like that. I'm sleeping 1 or 2 hours a night. When I set myself a sleep window, and I believe mine was 5 hours 45 minutes, it literally, I could not keep my eyes open. So that kind of proved to me that I must have been sleeping a lot more than I thought. Otherwise that 5 hour 45 minute sleep window wouldn't have done anything to me. So what's going on here? Well, so they've done studies in sleep labs where they have had people with insomnia, multiple studies on this, and they'd have them all wired up, they'd be observing them, and during the night time they would shake them on the shoulder and they would ask them, were you just asleep just now, or were you awake? And that person, they were swear blind, no, I was just awake. I've been awake for the past 2 hours. I've not slept a wink. And that person, they were literally snoring just 10 seconds ago. Their eyes are in rapid eye movement. All the signals from the brain is telling telling all the researchers that person 100% is definitely asleep. You know, people when they're awake, they don't tend to snore, so that's a bit of a giveaway. And they would show this person on video, look, this is you, literally 20 seconds ago, snoring fast asleep. And even after seeing that, they just won't believe it. They say, no, that isn't me. That must have been at a different time. I don't believe it. I can't believe it. How can this be true? Because I was thinking about this. I was awake. I know I was awake. And so even with all that evidence, they still say that they were awake, wide awake. And so what's going on here? Well, especially with people with insomnia, the brain can still have conscious thoughts. So an analogy or a hypothesis I've come up with to explain why this happens. So we're still essentially running the same brains as we were when we were cavemen. And when we were cavemen, sleep was one of the most dangerous things that we could have done. To be unconscious for 7 hours in a row, absolutely unconscious, and not wake up at all, that would have been incredibly dangerous. So we've evolved to have a very fragmented sleep-wake cycle, which includes lots of wakefulness as part of it to keep us safe. And so imagine this scenario. So you've got a caveman who sleeps well. You know, they wake up in the middle of the night just as every person does, because sleep runs in cycles and wakefulness is part of the sleep cycle. So everyone on the planet wakes up multiple times throughout the night. It's just that most people don't remember. So this caveman wakes up during the night, nothing threatening to their safety, falls back to sleep again. And they do that multiple times throughout the night. Now imagine a saber-toothed tiger comes along and it parks itself at the front of their cave. They've left their spear and everything outside. There's nothing they can do to attack the saber-toothed tiger. There's nothing they can block the entrance to the cave up with. So that saber-toothed tiger can come in at any point. Luckily, they got the cave stacked full of months and months worth of edible berries, delicious roots, all the good stuff. So they don't need to go anywhere. So there's this real threat sat at the front of the cave. But the brain needs sleep. The brain has to get sleep. Just like you need to drink, you need to sleep. Just like you need to eat, you need to sleep. Just like you need to breathe after you've held your breath for a certain time. Eventually, the brain has to get sleep, and it's going to find ways of getting the sleep it needs. And so the hypothesis I've kind of come up with is the brain has to get the core amount of sleep it needs, but it's never going to allow you to get into that really good quality deep sleep where you're fully unconscious. So when you've got insomnia, you've got all this anxiety, you've got all this stress, you've got all this obsession, you've got all this worry around your sleep. That's you telling the brain there's a saber-toothed tiger outside your cave. But the brain's saying, I have to get the sleep I need, and so it's not going to allow you to get this good quality deep sleep. So I remember with my own insomnia, I had these really strange things where sometimes it would feel like I wasn't awake, wasn't asleep. Sometimes it would feel like I was hallucinating, like my hands were 10 times the size. I'd have really kind of anxious thoughts, which wasn't quite dreaming, but wasn't quite awake. It's a very odd thing that just happened every single night. And essentially, this is what I want to break when I help people with bedtime restriction. So if you don't do anything to change your behaviors around your sleep, if you carry on the way things are, if you kind of say to your brain, you know what, there is a saber-toothed tiger outside the cave, this is the pattern of sleep that you want, the brain will go, well, okay, well, that's the pattern of sleep you want, there's no reason to change it. And so you're going to carry on, the brain's going to carry on giving you this pattern until you actively make an effort to change these behaviors. So I've said before in one of my other videos, when I talk about solo around the world boat trippers, think of insomnia as a poor pattern of sleep that the brain has taken on. So people that go on solo around the world boat trips, they can't sleep in one consolidated 8-hour block, because if they did, the boat's going to sink. So they set an alarm every single 15 minutes to wake themselves up. Literally within a week of doing that, the brain will wake them up every single 15 minutes, just because that's the pattern of sleep that the brain thinks that person wants. So this really poor pattern of sleep, where you think you're only getting 2 hours of sleep a night, and the rest of the night is spent in this kind of half awake, half asleep, real kind of anxious state, you will be sleeping more than you think. All the studies from the sleep lab shows that. It's not a pattern of sleep you want. It's not a pattern that's helpful to you, but it can be fixed and it can be changed. So if you want to know how to change it, take a look at the video when I talk about setting your own sleep window. And even if you kind of do it with sort of disbelief, even if you think, well, it's not going to work for me because I only sleep for 2 hours a night, and I know I do, try it anyway. Try it for a week, try it for 2 weeks, and I can guarantee by reducing the amount of time you spend in bed, you're going to start getting that sleepy feeling back. The sleep quality that you get will improve, and then you'll get that magical moment where you will realise, okay, well, maybe I am sleeping more than you think. And if you weren't sleeping more than you thought, you wouldn't be able to keep your eyes open during the daytime. So there's a big difference between chronic sleep deprivation and insomnia. People who are chronically sleep deprived, they cannot keep their eyes open during the daytime. If that's not you, you're not chronically sleep deprived. And I know you think you are. I thought I was too during my own 20 years insomnia. Please don't think, well, this guy doesn't understand me. I know how you feel. You probably feel anxious, you feel stressed, you feel fatigued. But unless you're dropping off in your chair, you are not chronically sleep deprived. And the sleep window will kind of show you that when you get that sleepy feeling back, that's when the magic will happen. All right, I really hope this video has been helpful. Check out my website, sleepze.com, and I'll see you on the next one.